Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. This is Aluminum Tarot. Thanks so much for joining today. Just checking to make sure that we're actually recording. um, what I'd like to do is do the reading for Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Rising from now until a month later. So from this point in November until the next point in December. Slowly coming up against the holiday season. We've already had Guy Fawkes Night here, which is the British equivalent to Thanksgiving in the US. So, with the exception of Birmingham, which I think if you read the newspapers, I think everything was a very jubilant time to say the least. Now we're slowly going through the procession, leading all the way up to the new year. So it's going to be 2026 quite soon. My goodness, I'm going to wake up one day and just be full of grey hair, and my God, watching the universe kind of just pass us by. Hopefully, if they are correct about it, perhaps, all this time spent going through the procession of birth to death, we have more opportunities to do this again and learn and grow until we get tired of it and we just go for nirvana anyways. That said, there's one reason why I don't worry too much about getting older, and gives me a little bit of comfort, I suppose. We all have to have some way to embrace the passing of time. I think I might just banter about that for a little bit, so I'll keep that separate from the current reading. Anyways, Scorpio, this is yours up. We're going to talk about this period from now until, the month in December. So from now until a month later in the month of December. We're going to look into your energies, see what's taking place, and then draw our conclusions from whatever the tarot is telling us. 3 rules for Aluminum Tarot. Number 1, like, share, subscribe, ding the notification bell so that you don't miss any updates. And furthermore, if you'd like to leave a comment below as to how this applies to you, this is an algorithm. This applies to your life, which has all the variables. So if I read a specific energy and this resonates with your work situation or with a romantic situation or with a soul transformation, reading, then so be it. So it's going to resonate differently with everyone else. Otherwise, every Scorpio that hears this message is exactly the same, and that's not really the case. Additionally, if you'd like to give further support to the channel, feel free to leave a small monetary contribution and the PayPal link in the description box below. Thirdly, help protect the tarot community by flagging and reporting and blocking people who are scamming others into fake tarot readings, which, of course, they are never, the people who give this money are never compensated with a reading. They're instead just kind of fobbed off. And that damages the reputation of the tarot community, as well as prevents people from being able to grow their business, which many people treat this as a business. I treat it kind of like a hobby now. I'm just kind of like, fuck it. I'm just going to read it, pissing into the wind and shouting at the clouds as to what's taking place in all of our 12 zodiac signs lives. It's a lot of fun. But that said, we get into your reading. I've already shuffled the cards. Scorpio, for you, what I got here is I got the Fool and I got the Judgment card. So this is Fool in reverse, Judgment card in the upright. This gives me a bit of an energy like I'm not really sure if I want to give this a second chance or to revisit this situation, or I don't want to I'm not really sure if I want to repeat the mistakes of the past or the judgments or the things I've encountered in the past. Perhaps you do, but you feel reticent to do so. And or maybe you're just afraid of doing it in a foolish manner. So whatever it is that you've faced in the past, if it comes up again and resurfaces, you're not so sure that you're going to give it a second go around this time. What I like to think about is... get a message. As what I would like to think about for Scorpio in this particular period, there seems to be a lot of internal strife that's taken place, because we do have the 9 of Swords, which is the challenge. This is about being able to stabilize your mind, let go of the fears, the uncertainties, the what ifs, which kind of accumulate after the Eight of Swords, where you have self-imposed these restrictions on yourself. So it's kind of like mini devil energy, which is how I look at the Eight of Swords. The Nine of Swords is kind of like the being consumed by those thoughts and feelings to the point where it actually starts to affect you physically. And as you can see with this person, you can see in the distance that his airship is being blown to smithereens. And so he's not quite happy about that. So it's almost like a death of the intellect kind of thing. This is the betrayal taking place. And he's seeing this happen right before the Ten of Swords comes up. And so this is the way I interpret these cards in this specific deck, which is one of the reasons why I love this deck so much. Going into the recent past, you had the Magician, which is the Technomancer in this deck. This deck is the, again, Steampunk Tarot, and I have the complementary deck, the Steampunk Lenormand, which arguably my favorite deck in the whole of the tarot, market, whatever you want to call it. But Technomancer basically is trying to manifest something. You see the infinity symbol here, which is indicative of strength. So it's like mustering all of your energy, your resources and everything, things at your disposal, so that way you can materialize and manifest something into existence. And after that period, you have the period of reflection, which comes from the High Priestess, which is card number 2. Now, that said, what you've done in the recent past, you've done your best to materialize and manifest something that you were very passionate about. I think you're trying to make a new life for yourself for the simple reason that it's been a lot of competition to get this far and to get this, this accolade, whatever it is that you've achieved. And as you move into the near future, you're kind of feeling like whatever it is that you really fought hard for, you're no longer reaping the rewards and benefits of that. So with the Empress in the reverse, what this talks about, it could be one of two things. Either A, you feel like you have a bit of imposter syndrome, where you are unable to materialize something fully and conducively. This is kind of like, trying to bring something to term. It's a bit like a pregnancy. I mean, that's what the Empress talks about. And it's not simply just being physically pregnant, but it's also about being pregnant with ideas, beautiful things you're trying to materialize and manifest. So it goes hand in hand with the Magician. But in this case, it almost seems like what you've tried to give birth to is, I don't want to use the word stillborn, that's pretty morbid, but it's just not coming into fruition. And let's see what else we have here. We have the Two of Wands as well. I'm going to clarify it once again. Yeah, Five of Pentacles in the reverse. So it's like you're looking at this, whatever it is that you tried to materialize in the past, you're now saying to yourself, was this really worth it? So you may be trying to plan to get out of a bit of financial lack or being left out in the cold. Maybe with whatever it is that you want to materialize, you realized it wasn't so. It wasn't how your mind's eye saw it. And now you're trying to find a way to get out of that difficult spot, that difficult situation. Or maybe that feeling that you're not enough to be able to carry this on. So in that specific sense, the Empress can feel like maybe I'm not enough to make this happen. And so that imposter syndrome that kind of steps in. Say, for example, you've gotten offered a new role, or you've been in a role for a while and there's a change of leadership. There's, quarterly reports that say, okay, we need to downsize, we need to become a leaner team, as they say it when they let go of 30,000 people, at fucking Amazon. Anyways, hopefully I don't get liable for that. I don't get sued for that. I think that when these things happen, it can kind of let your world of stability be adversely affected. And what you want to do at that particular moment is try to muster the strength and courage for you to say, okay, maybe I can continue with this and move forward, or maybe it's time for me to take a step back and change tack in whatever it is I'm doing with my life. The reason why I think that this is more of a situation related to work is because with the subconscious energy, I pulled the King of Pentacles, and this is all about building that foundation for success in the physical world, having enough money, having enough resources, being solid and stable in your job and your career, and being able to bring, be kind of like the rock that everyone leads, that everyone relies on, especially in a leadership role. And for the conscious energy, we have the Queen of Pentacles, which, again, these are beautiful things that happen in the tarot when cards are so synchronous and they have these correlations. At the foundation, you have this very masculine desire to build a situation of wealth and abundance. And in the conscious energy, what's known about it, the overt energy, we have the Queen of Pentacles. So you're nurturing whatever project it is that you've been working on, over the past few years, because these pentacles are quite slow cards. They represent the Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo, which are cards of stability and the pragmatic realm. And so for you, that's what you've been focusing on. That's where all of your energy has been going. But with this near future energy, it kind of gives me the impression that things may not be. You may need to reinvest in whatever it is that you are working on at the moment. Because now what I see you have here is the Ace of Swords. You have Strength reverse, Ace of Swords reverse as well, and the Justice reverse. So when you have these types of energies, what you notice is that I'm getting the expression like "I want out" or "let me out." I'm hearing like Sherbrooke from Smashing Pumpkins is like, "Let me out." I'm getting that part that's playing in my head right now because maybe it's time for you to look for something new. If this was a job, maybe it's time for you to look for something that's a bit more suitable for your energy, or maybe it's a way for you to change tack in what you're doing, your approach to your work, and maybe it's time for you to take a back seat, possibly delegate some of those responsibilities to someone else. I mean, hopefully you don't fear that person will take your position or anything like that, but I think that with this particular period, you may need to kind of reassess all of the time, energy, resources, value that you're interjecting into one part of this, of your life, and then just kind of move back a bit and replenish yourself. So that way you're not burnt out. The Empress in reverse can be like smothering or sometimes overwhelmed by certain things, because what they're trying to bring to term can actually do more harm to them than good. With the Oracle message, what I get here is the Child. It's a very nice card here. She's riding a penny farthing, which is in the UK, maybe in the US as well. It's kind of like an old bicycle with a large wheel here and the small back wheel. Penny farthings were all the rage when it came to people of status, where they were able to kind of ride these types of bikes for the first time in history. They were some of the very first ones that were invented, I believe. I believe I saw that penny farthing. Where was it? It was either in Halifax in like the Calderdale Museum, or it was in a I need to come back to that. It's a very interesting one. But I remember seeing it in a museum, and I saw that. I was just like, I wonder what it's like to ride one of those things. Is it stable? Is it sound? How do you get on that thing to begin with? The Child just kind of makes it happen. She gets on the bike, hops on, and she just manages to keep everything in balance. And maybe that's kind of a message that I'm getting through with your specific reading. The Child represents the start of something new beginnings. Sometimes it also talks about, managing smaller chunks of things in order to better deal with them. Because, if you overwhelm a child with something, they will either pout, throw a fuss, or they may not be able to internalize all of this stuff at once. So maybe you want to go back and just kind of say, okay, if I'm going to make this work, how do I kind of reassess my approach to this so that way I can manage this in smaller bits rather than trying to do everything at once. And with Scorpio, it's a very strong desire to say, I can do it. I can get through all of this. I have the strength and the determination to do everything, because you are my opposite sign in the, in the sun sign. And Scorpios are very intense, very deep with a lot of their, emotions and their will to power in a sense. Taurians were just like, fuck it, let's just get it done. Throw everything we got at it. And once we just mow over all of our obstacles, then we can go back into the pasture and graze until the next challenge. So, with that said, to sum everything up, what I see here is whatever it is that's challenging with you, with this part of your life, and I do believe it is work-related or stability-related as well. It could even be finances. If you've gone through a difficult period with your finances, your work, your career, even the stability and foundation of a marriage or a long-term relationship, if you want to move forward with it, make sure that you are managing this in smaller steps rather than everything at once. And then finally ask yourself, do you want to burn out because you've tried to throw everything at it? And in order for this to come to balance, because it doesn't appear to be balanced if you carry on with this specific path, what I see is that, you're just getting complete and utter burnout. That's with justice in the reverse, strength in the reverse, and the Ace of Swords in the reverse. So it's kind of, you're not quite clearly seeing what it is that could lead to this kind of period of burnout or destruction. So something to think about. I hope this reading has been helpful. Once again, this is Aluminum Tarot. I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you like what you see here, please be sure to give a like, share, subscribe, ding the notification bell so that you don't miss any updates from future postings. And also, feel free to drop a comment in the comment box below. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you so much again. Until next time, love and light. Take care.